Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by the delightful Dr. Jeanne Comeau. She has a PhD and is a certified life purpose coach and evolutionary astrologer who brings her powerful gets it done reputation from a successful 35 plus year Fortune 500 global executive IT career into a transformational work with people. She earned her Master's in Metaphysical Science from the University of Metaphysics and a Doctor of Philosophy in Holistic Life Counseling from the University of Sedona, and is an ordained minister working through the Worldwide International Metaphysical Ministry. With additional certifications from the John Maxwell Leadership Team and Gallup Clifton Strengths Finder, Jeanne is recognized as a catalyst for change who helps clients uncover their true potential and embrace all they were created to be. So a big welcome to the show, Dr. Jeanne.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here, Catherine, with you and your audience. Delighted to be here.
I love all the things that you've done, but just before the show, we were getting so passionate about astrology. So I guess everyone kind of knows what astrology, but why is it important for people to know it in their life? I feel that would be a great way to start.
Because the birth chart, which is one of a kind, so at the moment of birth, there's a snapshot taken of the sky. And your birth chart will never be repeated ever, anywhere. Even twins, their birth chart, a minute apart, seconds apart, it can be a different birth chart. So why should we know our birth chart and why should we know our astrology? The birth chart is the soul's blueprint. It tells the story of what you came into this lifetime to evolve through this lifetime with in your soul's work. The placement of the various planets and the geometric patterns that they form tell a story. And the story is not guaranteed. So I want to point this out. I'm not a prediction astrologer. I don't do predictive astrology. I can't tell you how it's going to turn out. I can tell you what music you came in with. You have free will choice to determine how your music plays. And it is thus a soul empowerment tool. Interestingly, Carl Jung, the well-known psychologist of the last century and a half, was an astrologer. He absolutely was an astrologer, and Carl Jung brought us the astrological archetypes. But that aside, he has said that he would know more about an individual by looking at their chart for a few hours than years of talking to them. Birth chart holds the message of what your psyche has within it, that it will work through in this lifetime. And when we know better, we do better. And so I am very passionate, Catherine, about knowing your stars. It's a tagline of mine, but I believe everybody should know their stars. And the sooner, the better. The sooner, the better. If you're a young child, feed it to them in their language. I would love to see astrology taught in schools as young as the elementary school. Well, hey, bring it to preschool. I'm a Leo sun, which I happen to be, but I am this, and this is why I like those things. I naturally gravitate to those things. I think it's so empowering to know how unique we are. And especially in today's world of social media, which has been going on for a while now, we're not supposed to be like those people we look at. See?
Yeah. Amen. And I love this too, because we were talking briefly about the Essenes. So if anyone's not sure who the Essenes are, Joshua or Jesus or Hosea or Emmanuel, whatever name you want to resonate, he was part of the Essenes. And the Essenes, actually, the moment their children were born, looked up the child's astrology so that then they could nurture their gifts, so that they could step into those gifts from the moment they were part of society, rather than floundering around trying to figure out what's going on in their life and why they're different or what's my life purpose. They actually had guidance from the moment they were born. And I remember listening to it because it was through an audiobook, thinking, oh my goodness, this is so powerful. Imagine if each of us had that the moment we were born and taught that, like you said, whether it's in schools or in our language, and help that to be understood.
Yeah, absolutely powerful. And for parents, we were talking about that, Catherine, super empowering to understand what your child's birth chart is. Yes, to see what gifts the child is naturally going to be drawn towards and to nurture those, but also to understand life. Well, not to understand life is not easy. We know that. But life is not easy. But the child is going to live just like we do with ups and downs, you know, the mountains and the rainbows. And when a parent understands what the likely potential of those ups and downs are through the birth chart, they're able to better nurture the child, to better understand why is my child having such a difficult time, whatever it may be. And the reason is in the birth chart. And to add, you know, what's interesting, Catherine, is my mom, I'm the fourth of 9 children. And I remember my mom, you know, she didn't have astrology, but she heard of some psychologist that was coming up in the time, and he talked about how children go through stages in their life. And so she would say, I don't know what stage you're on, but you better get off it. You know, you better get off it. Well, she didn't understand the cycles of the transition, the transits of the planets. So we come in with a birth chart, moment in time, will for always, forever be you. But it's important to understand that the sky is always changing. And I've done so many astrology readings and studied my own that it is uncanny, crazy word, but uncanny how we can see the changing weather coming towards us. And I can see the ups and the downs that I went through in my life. And so a parent understands the child's birth chart and also is able to understand the geometry of it. It's beautiful art, the geometry of it, which goes like this. A birth chart is a 360-degree circle. It has 12 segments in it. And those are called houses. You know, the first house is the house of the self, and the 12th house is the house of the mystic, just to give a brief summary. And when we're born, wherever the planets were in the sky, they land in the different houses. And each planet comes with its own agenda, its own personality. It's a piece of the psyche that must be brought to bear in the lifetime. It must bloom in the lifetime or not bloom. And so it is all the dimensions of the psyche are covered by the houses and the planets. And so there they are placed. Zodiac signs come into the flavor of it all as well. But my point for the parents and for all of us really is to understand the geometry. And I keep doing the little circle because it's shown in the middle of a chart. If you were to pull your astrology chart, you would see lines, and they'll typically be blue and red, depending on which software you're using. And this allows us to understand what energies are playing with each other and supporting each other. So we've already seen what the skills and talents are, Catherine. Now, what energies are at play that are going to support that? Or what energies are going to cause opposition and friction? And knowing what those are, that's the real important. It's easy to go to the good. We want to know the good, but it's through the difficulties that we transcend through life lessons. The life's lessons. I mean, ultimately, it's all about the soul comes into this lifetime, chose the time of birth, chose then, therefore, the lessons of this lifetime. for the evolution of the soul. And too many people leave the life not having fulfilled their mission here.
And they have
And
to do it again.
yes. Well, yes. I mean, it's a funny aside, we can say, remember the relationship? Yeah, well, it's coming back right at you. Sort of, we can make fun like that, but all relationships, of course, are mirrors of us and are here to cause us to evolve. It has nothing to do with the other person, truthfully. It's all about our evolution. So,
and I feel a lot of people get lost in the astrology lingo, the mumbo jumbo, because I know I was sharing with you when I had my first reading done, I was so lost. It was like, hey, there's conjuncts, there's retrogrades, there's blah, blah, blah in your chart. And I was like, what does that even mean? And I got so lost in the terminology. How
yes,
you work with people a little bit different?
it is, because when the clients book, long before I meet them, I've asked them if they've ever had an astrology reading, and I seek for more information about what their level of comfort is with astrology. If I have clients that know it quite a bit. They've been a hobbyist for years and years, so I can use the word conjunction. They understand that. For a client that knows nothing about astrology, I show that two planets coming together form an amped up energy, a meta energy. And so the personalities of those two planets are coming together to do the work at wherever their placement is in the chart. So it's amped up power as a conjunction, versus an opposition is we have tension, tension causing us to grow. Another thing that I'd love to put into the show notes, and I was mentioning it, Catherine, is on my YouTube channel is a video that I recorded with the Labyrinth Society, as well as the American Dowsers Association. And it's a presentation called Know Your Stars, and it is intended for beginners of astrology in layman's terms to understand, if I meet with an astrologer, how do I know before I get there what they're going to be saying? What words are they likely going to be used, so I can understand how all those words integrate together and I'm not so lost and I'm able to grasp more the meaning and potentially ask questions, which would be great. A key passion of mine is everyone should know their stars, pure and simple. Pure and simple, that's my goal. And I believe that in order to do that, we need to understand enough about how astrology works. So if we brought astrology into the schools, a big part of it would be, how does astrology work? How does that language tell its story? So I seek to understand my clients before I meet with them.
Yeah, which is beautiful. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, but I've read the astrology in the paper and it wasn't accurate. But I feel that's only because a lot of people don't realize that's just your sun sign. It doesn't take into account anything else in your chart. Right. That's my interpretation.
Absolutely.
That's correct, right?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And what's interesting about our sun sign is we probably all know our sun sign, because it lasts for a good month's time, right? The solar season. And the sun is powerful in that it is the center of our psyche. It is the center of our universe. I happen to be a Leo. Do you recall your sun sign, Christina?
I'm a Cancer sun, Cancer moon, and an Aquarius rising. Yeah.
Wow. Unique, nurturing. I love it. That's pretty powerful. And so you are forever the healer, the nurturer, the inner psychology, soul-centered person, because you are a Cancer sun. And so our sun is very, very relevant, but it's true. If you were to read the column, it's not going to resonate. It just isn't. And I certainly wouldn't live my life by it. It's entertaining. It's entertaining, but I wouldn't live my life by it. No. But knowing, if you delved a little bit further in an astrology reading and you got a really good grasp of what you just said, I'm a Cancer sun, a Cancer moon, and an Aquarian rising. Well, that's what I call the primal triad. That's from my teacher, and at the University of Evolutionary Astrology. And so that really forms your core essence. It absolutely does. The moon are your emotions. The sun is your radiant center. And the beauty about the ascendant, people don't realize this, it's also called the rising sign, so that causes the confusion. But the ascendant is the front door to your entire chart. It's the front door. It opens the door. It is on the cusp of the first house. The first house never moves. You'll see in my video, it never moves. So it is how you dawn on others and how you project the self into the world. So you are quite a nurturing rebel. I mean, I could go on and throw out the words, but
Amen. I am.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing about astrology. For those that have never had an astrological reading, please do. But seek out an evolutionary astrologer, because then we're talking spiritual astrology, we're talking soul-centered astrology, and with an evolutionary astrology reading, we're seeking to answer a very important question, which is, why do I have the chart I have? What's it all about? How many times, why am I here? Some people think of leaving here because they don't know why they're here, and that's very unfortunate. But we're all here for a very unique reason. And when we don't know our stars, when we don't understand our purpose in life, and it doesn't mean that you're going to start a company or you're going to do these mundane things. That's not the purpose of life. The purpose of life, and as a metaphysician, is to serve, to serve, to serve. And in the birth chart, we understand the gifts and talents that came in with you to allow you to serve in your God-given way. And so we look for that so that one can understand that. And so again, if somebody doesn't know what their astrology is, just knowing these things is, in my opinion, super empowering, super. You can forget what everybody else is saying about you because you get to know who you are.
I love that, Dr. Jeannie, especially because, for me, understanding that there's a lot of emotions that are happening being with all the Cancer energy that help me understand why I can fling from incredibly happy to incredibly sad, all within the space of a flick of the switch because something happens.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yes.
but understanding that about myself also allows me to have compassion for myself and to help explain to others that, yeah, okay, that's just part of my thing. And this is what's important to me. I really value home, and I really value having financial stability, and I really value having, my emotions listened to and, responded to, or just listened to rather than dismissed. This is how you can, it's almost you telling someone how to love you as well, which can be incredibly powerful
That's
because we
powerful.
all have. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if your parents had known that about you. It could have been very different, because parents struggle with an emotional child. They don't know what to do with them. It's hard because they want to see happiness, right? So beautifully said. Yes. Let's
Exactly. And even with my little one, he's a very sensitive soul, and I haven't looked fully into his chart, but I know enough to just intuitively, okay, he doesn't work the same way. But it's really interesting. You have to deprogram all the programs of how you should show up based on manners and being polite and things like that. Whereas he is a child who will not want to be in a room with more than two adults because he said the energy gets too much. And it was only when he was older that we could figure that out. But it was like when he was younger, it wasn't an issue. But like you said, there's these evolutions that happen, right? And since then,
Yes.
so many planets have shifted and so many things have moved, and there's all this new weather that he's competing with. So he's just like, no, it's just too much. And we're like, okay, all right, let's talk about how to manage that. Yeah.
Absolutely. The way that the planets are positioned and their transit period of time creates the chapters of life. And in this teaching, it's really a presentation, but where you'll learn the basics of why you should know your stars. I talk about these chapters in life and the ages that they trigger in. Age 7 is very important for a Saturn square on a child, and then age 14, and then we come around to 28 to the first Saturn return. That's just a simple example. But these chapters of life will play out. They absolutely will play out. And it's so much better, especially if the birth chart has got frictional energy to a particular planet that's going to go through its vibration. It's really important to understand what that frictional energy is, and then therefore what the weather is going to be for, let's see, the next 2.5 years, because Saturn is coming close, for example. We come back in life. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel as a parent that's so powerful because it gives you some insight. It's like there's this app, and I can't remember what it was, and it talks about when you have a baby, and they studied all these thousands of babies, and they found they went through different periods of being unsettled. And they called them, I can't even think it was. But anyway, you could download the calendar. And if your child was like really fussy and acting out, and you're like, what is going on? I don't understand. And you'd look up on this calendar, and if it was like a storm, like little emoji storm, you knew that you were in for a rough few weeks because they were going through developmental shifts and everything else. But, it's only got you to a certain point. Whereas, tapping into evolutionary astrology this way is a map forever, right?
It really, really is. And speaking of emotions, with evolutionary astrology, it's the nodes of the moon that we really seek to understand the emotional energy that came into this lifetime. So we can call that the karma. And it's not going to be good emotional energy, because if it was good, it wouldn't come back to be worked out, right? And so
Yes.
of all the planets, and all planets have nodes, just like we have the Arctic and the Antarctic. It is only the moon's nodes that we use in evolutionary astrology. And the reason is the one thing that transcends death and rebirth is emotion. Now, some people remember past lives, and there's documented evidence of that, but certainly the emotions come in. And so in understanding the past life, and then therefore the soul's evolution for this life, I look to, and evolutionary astrologers look to, the position of the South Node and any geometric aspects that are connected to it. The South Node is the past. It will always play out in the current lifetime. We see remnants of it in the childhood, and we're very comfortable there. So when we think about, well, why does that keep happening to me? Or why do I keep? It's tied into that South Node pain. Now, the opposite side of it is the North Star. I call it the North Star. It's the North Node. And this is where the soul is trying to get to. And so in evolutionary astrology, what we're talking about with clients is, how do I evolve from the energy of the past to work through the lessons that I chose to work through in this lifetime, and to reach the North Node? Because in the North Node is where the soul's purpose lies, what it is to be doing in this lifetime. It's interesting. A lot of us experience North Node. That's when we feel good about something. You're doing something like your work now, Catherine. You just feel really good about it. It's playing into that North Node. And so you want to understand when there's any transiting sky aspects, bless you, that are going to come across it.
Thank you.
That might, influence that trajectory.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way of putting it, and also framing for people that, okay, I've only been taught this aspect of my chart, and I hear about, I was joking with you before we started. Sometimes you need to learn things because it impacts you. Like for me, Mercury retrograde, definitely impacts my technology and my communication. And I know when it's coming because I'm like, why is my computer suddenly on the fritz for no reason? Oh, we're in the shadow of
Oh,
Mercury. What does that actually mean? So,
mhm,
so it's been like a means to an end rather than getting in front of it and understanding, like you said earlier, the weather that's coming towards you. And it's not about avoiding it. It's about
mhm,
almost having the map to get through it instead and allow yourself to evolve and get to that north node rather than sitting in
mhm.
that energy of the south node.
Right. It's like knowing whether you're going to need the umbrella for the next 2 years of your life or not. And some of these transits, oh my gosh, they can be that long. I've had one heck of one for the last 3 years now that's finally lifting in February, and I am going to be dancing in the streets, I'll tell you. Yes, it's been Neptune straight against my Jupiter, and it's not a good thing when my enthusiasm is delusioned. Way to look at it.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
like it.
um, if if someone was coming for an evolutionary astrology question for the first time, what's session, not question, sorry, session for the first time, what would be something that would be great for them to want to take away? Because sometimes, it can be really daunting and overwhelming. It's like, oh, I could learn
Mm,
all these things. But
yeah.
what do you recommend for people to go in with the intention of or the expectation?
Well, let me explain how I do it, and I think that that's going to help. I, like you, Catherine, have been to astrology readings where I get online with somebody. It used to be on the phone. Now it was Zoom 4 years ago. And a lot of things are said, and I'm writing it down, and I walk away and I get very little. And I've been, you know, a hobbyist of astrology since my 20s. So, I knew enough. But I just, didn't get it. And one of the things that I want to do is have clients that receive a birth chart reading through me, a Know Your Stars reading through me, walk away empowered to the point where they don't have to re-listen to the video unless they want to. And the reason, and what I do then is every client receives a customized. So I go out of my way, and I have to do that because I can't allow a client to walk away from a session with me where they're not empowered and they aren't able to move forward with the knowledge that I'm so passionate about instilling in them. So what would they focus on? Firstly, in the reading, I start with the sun and the moon and the rising sign. I like to look at the lunar phase that the person was born under. That says a lot about the psyche as well. And then I cross over to the South Node and the North Node and Pluto. Pluto is very much past life energy, and Chiron, because I'm now looking at that. And in the middle of all of that, I'm looking at the geometry. And I'm only bringing out the key parts of it. In other words, there aren't enough hours in a day for me to tell everybody everything they need to know about their chart, and especially a first-time reader, a first-time client. But I'm pulling out the important things that are explaining the soul's purpose for this lifetime. And so when we talk about the sun and the moon and the ascendant, this is the primal triad. This is really you. Then we've got the past life story and the karmic lessons that have come in to be evolved through. And we have the aspects. And in the middle of there, we have all of these other planets that are at place. But that comes into the story of the aspects. And also, Catherine, I'm talking with them and I'm explaining to them the houses that the different situations of, so the arena of life in which these frictions will play out, or this harmonious angle will play out, etc. And every chart is so unique that every reading is completely different. But I will tell you this: that is my structure, and there is a written report. It's not computer generated. I do use AI to fix the grammar, okay, and that. And just for time purposes. I can't spend hours editing, but
I
that is
understand.
it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
you understand. So when a client signs on with me, I'm seeking to, through email before I meet them, no more. They get to answer questions when they sign on. And especially if someone comes in with like a rounded time of birth, I immediately go back and question their time of birth, because remember, the front door to the birth chart is the ascendant, which is established by the time and location of birth. We must have that accurate if we can. So hopefully that answers.
I was freakishly born at 7 p.m. Like right on 7 p.m.
Well, would we expect anything different for an Aquarian rising?
And
7
my son
a.m.
was born at exactly 2 p.m. on his date of birth. And I know
Really?
because I looked up at the clock as he was put in my arms. It was 2 o'clock. It was exactly 2 o'clock. So
Oh,
interesting. Hey.
how
Um,
beautiful.
yeah. And yeah, I know my chart's a little bit, even my numerology chart's crazy. But
Numerology is
so
wonderful too. I agree.
yeah. Yeah, well, I feel that all these anything like astrology, especially evolutionary astrology, numerology, human design, gene keys, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all just insights into understanding who you are as a soul and the
Yes.
purpose and why you are here. And I feel we're very
Yes.
blessed currently that we have so many modalities that help support us with that. And instead of it being, oh, I'm just reading the little star chart in the paper today, and that's my guide of where I'm just going to
Absolutely.
get to next.
Absolutely, Catherine. You know, everything is energy, and so everything is vibration, and it's all been set up by divine design. And all of these different tools, if you will, are they're languages. They're just different languages, but they're all they're all reading the same vibratory energy. And what's interesting is about, the fact that that anyone can sign on to know their stars today like that. There was a time in, history when you couldn't, when an astrologer, I would be put out to pasture and not a nice way, right? So it truly is a gift that we can have these gifts available to us today.
100%. And Dr. Jeannie, I asked the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
That we would all know thyself, written on the temple in ancient Greece. Know thyself, written in a lot of scripture. When we know ourselves, we are able to be the purpose we were created to be in this lifetime, because we know who we are, we know why we came. And so down to elementary schools, when I was saying earlier on, nursery schools, know your stars, start to understand the vibrational dimensions of all that we're born into. And as above, so below. It absolutely has to play out in the psyche of each of our individual consciousnesses, right? As part of the whole universal consciousness. That's what I would do.
100%. And I feel we're all better just knowing ourselves better too, and not feeling so lost in
Yes. And we make
the
other people
noise that
happy,
constantly surrounds us.
right? And
Yeah,
other people around
100.
us are happy. No
Yeah,
one wants to
because
hear
you're
our
happy.
moaning and groaning.
Set. And if people want to come and find and work with you, Dr. Jeannie, or check out you in different social media platforms, how can they find you?
The best place is to go to my website, which is my name, Jeannie. You see it on the tube here, Jeanne Comeau, and it'll be in the show notes. But my website will lead you to whatever all of my social channels, and you can find various videos on YouTube. Certainly, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm keeping on pushing out the importance of knowing who we are in any way I can.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure to pop all of those details in the show notes for you. So
Right.
thank you so much for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
passion and your insight into evolutionary astrology and
Thank you,
why
Catherine.
I was going to say, and why it's so important for everyone to know.
Yes, it is absolutely important. Thank you. We have a little bit of an overlay between the countries, but it's been wonderful being here with you and your audience. And God bless to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Jeannie. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.